What is it that Jean Twenge and Jonathan Haidt can't answer about digital technology? In essence, what they can't answer is what are the ultimate or larger causal reasons why mental health often declines after digital technology use. Now, I don't mean this as a critique because I love both of these authors and I think they're doing excellent work. So this is not they're doing something wrong. Rather, I'm trying to point to a specific limit in what they're able to do with the kind of research they're doing. Again, this isn't because it's bad or wrong, but simply because of the natural limits built into the kind of research that they do. They can't really answer the bigger questions why. So let's say someone uses digital technology for 8 hours a day, and there's a clear association or physical causal connection between digital tech use and mental health decline. Okay, that's great. We can see that. No one, I think, should really be able to disagree with that. But my question is, what are the conditions that allow a person to use digital technology for 8 hours a day? That's a bigger causal question. It's not really maybe the most basic one, but you can start asking, is our technological society simply the material context that enables and empowers digital use? We just live in a technique-driven society, and there's not really a sort of escape from it. Does parenting play a role? Does permissive parenting or non-permissive parenting or parents' use of digital media enable this kind of condition? Do jobs require it? Do you need to use digital media or digital technology to work in the modern world? And therefore you kind of have to, in your training, use digital technology for 8 to 16 hours a day. That could be it too. Does social status, does your status among your peers rely on your LinkedIn or your digital media ability, prowess, presence, etc.? And has status now changed from maybe some other traditional forms of status achievement now to status achievement on digital media? Does it just kind of make it necessary for you in a modern society to be a part of this digital world? Does the cheapness of digital technology and the omnipresent advertising of digital tech, does that have a huge role to play? Now, none of these are like single causes. There could probably be 100 of these sorts of causes I could bring out. Again, they're one step behind Haidt and Twenge's point of view. Not that they don't bring this stuff out as well. They're saying, primarily, that there is an association when you use digital technology, it generally follows you of mental health decline. That is we might say a physical cause. It does something to your brain or something like that. Great. But we could even ask even more deeper questions, more deeper whys behind all of this. We could ask, why do we desire to use digital technology? And here, desire would map onto something that is no longer physical. There is an appetite of desire, we might say, but there's an intellectual desire as well, something that doesn't map onto a physical trait or brain chemistry. Why do we desire digital technology? I mean, that goes beyond the physical evidence or the statistical evidence that either of these authors can bring to bear, and that's fine. That's not a criticism. It's just a note on the limit of what they're doing. Another question you might ask is, what is the end of technology? What is the purpose behind technology? What do we think it does for us? That's telos, purpose. Again, all of that is interesting, but it is beyond physicality. Once again, it's beyond statistics. It is a question of metaphysics. And we might even ask, why does the lack of prudence or wisdom and self-control, or why don't these virtues prevent us from a vicious or vice-ridden use of technology, etc.? You can ask those sorts of questions. Again, they're not physically bound questions. They are questions that go beyond statistics and physicality. So for me, the brilliant work of thinkers like Twenge and Haidt, which I love, you might even add Samuel James to this, do a really, really good job of explaining how mental health decline follows from digital technology if we use it often enough. And it might actually tell you about a Humean cause. That is a cause that is, basically, it's a way to describe how two things follow from one another. It is a habitual relationship between X and Y. If digital technology use, then mental health decline, there's a causation there, at least according to a very, very common and repeatable pattern that happens. Again, That's not intent, that's not a metaphysical cause, that's not a deeper why. It is a real answer to a real question, but it can't, by definition, be comprehensive, nor can it answer why in the older sense. Namely, why, what is the purpose behind it? What is the telos of it? What is the form and material cause of digital technology? What are we hoping to get out of it? Why do we desire it the way that we do? Why don't virtues and vices prevent or enable us to use it better? Like, those are questions that are beyond what Twenge and Haidt are able to answer. They're just unable to, at least in their published work on statistics. I mean, obviously individually they can. I think actually Jonathan Haidt does a pretty good job of this on his After Babel Substack, so I'm not saying that he's never thought about these sorts of questions, but what I'm doing, and I'm sure they would agree with me, actually, this is not a criticism at all, what I'm doing is saying, if you just look at their work and say, oh, this is the cause, physical causation, one thing follows another, it's Humean causation, you've really only gone so far. You must needs go further, and the reason why it's so important is the next crisis of correlation, the next crisis of X leads to Y, will be statistically discovered 10 years after the fact, and we will know that there's a correlation, or perhaps even a physical or human causation, because there's an ordered pattern of X leads to Y. I get that. But, well, this still doesn't really answer the why. Why do we do it? What do we desire from it? What was the common end? What are the causal factors involved across the world? What are the metaphysical and the physical causal factors? We need to ask the deeper questions that touch on things like prudence or wisdom or self-control. If we believe those are true metaphysical potencies or powers in every single human being, and we can make good on those things or actualize them in the older sense, then we will be asking deeper questions and able to actualize a kind of self-control that can prevent us from falling, and prudence that can make us fall prey from whatever the next crisis of mental health is. It's insufficient only to ask about Humean whys. We need to ask also about metaphysical whys so that we can be wise in the next crisis that happens. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know that it might have felt polemic, but it's not really polemic against these two authors because they know what they're doing. It's really just an observation that we need to be careful in how we talk about how X causes Y, how digital technology causes mental health decline. If we say it's just use of it, I think we've done a disservice to the entire wisdom tradition of the 2 or 3 millennia before us. Further, it strikes me then, if we're trying to solve as like parents or as leaders or as educators the problem through a new technique to counter the digital technique, simply what we're doing is reinventing the wheel. And if any parenting or educational thing is always it's always the new and best thing to counter the other new and best thing, then we'll never really have anything to hang our laurels on. We need deeper, metaphysical, virtuous, real reasons that we can hang our hats on so that we can work through those things and allow us to manage or overcome or balance the next crisis. And if we don't do that, I think we will be in a much worse situation than we would otherwise be. Thank you for watching. Subscribe.